Well, hey there, everyone, and happy Saturday to you. I hope everybody's having a great Saturday and a great weekend so far. And good holiday season so far. Happy holidays to everybody that celebrates the holidays. Happy holidays to you. We are, like I said, coming into the Christmas holiday season there. So hopefully everybody is having a great one so far. My name is Don Terrell, and I want to welcome you to our last episode of the year 2021. I want to welcome you to it, The Color of Motion, where I like to say stories come in all shades, and I highlight people of color and diverse backgrounds in the industry of motion graphics, animation, visual effects, cartoons, and comics. This space that I'm so crazy about. So I want to welcome you to the show, Miss Elena McPherson. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. Been super looking forward to this episode for sure. Like I said, this is the last episode of the year, and you won't see us until next year. We're taking the last couple of weeks to enjoy the holidays. So glad that you have decided to join us. You know the drill. Jump on, say, hey, I want you to be engaged in this show, this episode. Mr. Downtown with Demille. Appreciate you. Happy holidays to you. Merry Christmas. And yes, this is the best way to close out the year. I'm telling you. So I'm super excited about it. Again, I want to welcome everybody to the show, making sure that we are on live on all the channels there. So just doing a little housekeeping there. But while I'm doing that, again, make sure that you jump on, say hello, where you're tuning in from, how the holidays are going for you, so I can give you a big shout out. This is my man here, Gabe Leo. Man, appreciate you stopping by, bro. Great guy. He's been so instrumental in my show, how it goes and everything. Doing big strides for live streaming in LinkedIn. So keep a lookout. Check out his show for sure. Doing some great things, really highlighting live streaming and content creators on LinkedIn. So super glad that he is tuning in. Again, make sure that you get connected with us on our Facebook group. Facebook.com/group/the color of motion. Join our community. It's growing. I can't believe. Just started it in July, August, I think, and we are now well over 100 members, and it's growing for sure. We're having some great conversation, having a lot of fun, sharing industry news. So definitely want you to be a part of the community for sure. Also, you can connect with me on all my social channels. I'm getting pretty good at this, hitting the right spot. Connect with me on all my social channels there. I want to get connected with you. I want to hear from you. Tell me, what you think of the show, what you want to see in 2022. Like I said, we got some big things planned for sure in 2022. So definitely want you to be a part of it. Like I said, the website, we were hoping to get it up by the end of the year, but it came up quick on us. So definitely the new website for the show will be up. We're going to be doing a lot more with Instagram for the show for sure. So definitely, like I said, want you to get plugged in. Before I do move on, I do want to announce the winner of our contest giveaway there. Super excited about that. Mr. Neil Shapiro, congrats for being our swag winner there. He's going to get some swag items next year for sure. and definitely appreciate him being a part of the show and a part of the Color of Motion family for sure. He's a big supporter. He always tunes in and checks out the show and appreciate that. So congratulations, Neil. We'll be reaching out to you to let you know when your swag items are on the way. All right. What else? We're gonna do a few more shout outs there. Uh, hopefully, uh, hopefully the guys will tune in there. Mr. Leo, Travis, and Garen. Hopefully they'll tune in. If not, I'm sure they'll hopefully check out the replay for sure. Miss Elizabeth, I appreciate you always tuning in as well. Another great past guest for sure. So super excited about it. Like I said, this has been a really big year. Like I said, it's gone by so quick, but you guys have made it the best year. Uh, all my guests, all the viewers have just, like I said, I can't say it anymore. You guys have just taken this show to the next level and definitely brought on the wow factor for it for sure. So, like I said, all I can say is wow. Can't believe it. Got a lot, like I say, got a lot of exciting things planned for 2022. So definitely want you to be a part of it for sure. So, like I said, we are, all live and everything, and super excited. Super excited to have my next guest and friend on. Actually, she was supposed to be on, was going to be on, I think in July, August, but ended up rescheduled to be our last episode. Close out the year with a bang. Rescheduled to be our last guest on the show. So super excited to have her on the show. And we were doing a little talking before the show, and almost got into an interview right there for sure. So super excited for you to be a part of it and jump into conversation and share with us, because we got a lot of things to discuss for sure. So with that, without any further ado, let's jump right into it. My next guest likes to say she is from everywhere, since her dad was in the military and they traveled a lot. She was born in Holland at the age of 3. They moved briefly to Mississippi for 6 months. Then from there, her family moved to Japan. I wonder if she knows Japanese, where she lived for 6 years of her childhood. Although she has very fond memories of Japan, her heritage is Puerto Rican. Her parents instilled their culture in both her and her sister from birth. During that time, she had the chance to travel to South Korea a few times and the Philippines until her dad retired, at which point they moved to Puerto Rico. She was one of those people that didn't have it figured out and didn't know exactly what she wanted to do, but she always had an affinity for animation and loved the feeling of imagining herself in a huge world of possibilities that could exist in a fantasy live action. Now that she looks back, she enjoyed writing songs and poems, but didn't really think about a career in writing until she started college. And even after graduation, she still felt like there was an aspect of having to figure out a lot. She tried many different things before really deciding on becoming a screenwriter. She is a charter member of Latinx in Animation, an organization that promotes Latino voices in the industry and is pushing for change and more representation, what I love, in the animation industry. Everybody, please help me welcome my very special guest and friend, Miss Jeannette Lara. Jeannette!
Look at the crowd yells, hey, huepa mi gente! I have to say that.
Man, I am so excited to have you on. Like I said, we connected a while ago, and like I said, you were I think you initially scheduled, sometime in July and August, and then came back and said, I need to
Yeah.
reschedule, then reschedule right away for December. And like I said, just been super excited looking to have you on.
And I get to be your last guest. Like, I
Last
didn't know
guest.
that. Wow.
Yes, last guest of the year. Like I said, she is closing out our year with a bang. Hold on there. Closing out our year with a bang. Yes. Oh man. Actually, she was, like I said, recommended by one of my other favorite guests, Miss Alicia Estrada.
Mm.
Recommended her. Love Alicia and what she's doing. Super talented. And she immediately said, I know somebody you need to get connected with. And reached out, and me and Jeannette just hit it right off the bat and got to talking about so many different things. And she was just so gracious about being on the show. So super excited.
No, thanks for having me. Like, I'm honored to be, even asked to be here. And yes, kudos, Alicia. Love you. Love you.
Mwah,
She's like,
mwah, mwah.
oh my
Love you,
gosh.
Alicia.
Yes. Besos y abrazos. Yeah.
Oh man, so what's good though? We got getting a lot of comments on here. Mr. Kenneth Dunner.
Favor the flavor.
Oh my God, this LinkedIn live show is over the top. Savor the flavor. We are savoring the flavor. We got some good flavor here. Some, African American flavor, some Puerto Rican flavor. We're going to have some fun. I'm curious. We're going to start off, Jeannette. How do you feel like your years of being a military kind of brat and moving around has kind of helped you, just in what you're doing now?
That's a great question. Oh my gosh, I don't think I get asked that enough. Actually, you're probably the first.
Hey, the first.
I it's something that it definitely changes your vision of the world. I can't emphasize this enough, and I know that not everyone always has the income to do so, but if you can just get out of your country and travel, it changes your perspective.
Yeah.
It changes, the light of things, how you view things. And to me, like, it was especially very eye-opening. When I think about, just in terms of like my own family, right? Like my mom, from this small, beautiful island, and my dad, although his parents are from that island as well, he was born in Panama because his dad was in the military,
Yeah.
right? So, but very proud of their heritage. And no matter where we went, we always carried that with us, right? But something that I really appreciate about my parents is that they really instilled in us the curiosity. Like, hey, here's a different culture. Let's experience it. Let's have their food. Let's look at their customs. And there's certainly stuff that I've taken from like my time living in Japan. Like, I take my shoes off when I enter the door, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change that for the world. I wish we had even traveled more.
Yeah.
But
No, and I totally agree with you. It gives you just this whole different perspective. I think we get so caught up in just
we do.
The Western way and how we do things, and it's funny because I took a trip to the islands. Me and some of my family, and the pace is obviously just so much slower, and you just get like I said, it's like you get just a different flavor of what life is like there, experiencing
Absolutely
what other people go through, what other people feel, and that type of thing. I think I agree with you. It's something that I think every person that has the opportunity to should do it because it really does put you in other people's shoes.
Right. It's the if anything, I think it gave my sister and I especially like a higher sense of empathy,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not saying that over anyone, but it's just you see different things.
Yeah,
You experience the beautiful with the ugly
yeah,
too,
yeah,
and I wouldn't change that for the world. Like it's just it definitely made me very aware of, without wanting to offend anyone, how close-minded sometimes it could be over here,
yeah, yeah,
in the United States, which, I still appreciate, I still love it
yeah,
over here.
yeah,
But yeah, it's like if people would experience that, I think we would have a better sense of empathy and kindness towards
yeah.
others,
Yeah.
so.
Now, like I said, I agree, and it's I've had this conversation with of course, so many of my guests, a lot of them like from Africa, just the perspective of okay, they're thinking, like in their first thoughts, like we don't want everybody to think that we're all running around in the jungle with tigers and lions and
Right.
things like that, because that's not how it is. So it's like we have these preconceived notions of what life is like in other places when that's not really the case. Everybody lives the same way. I mean, we all, of course, there are always people that are not doing as well as others, but everybody, laughs, they love, they cry, we all have these same universal type of things that we want and are going through.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what it is.
Well, I'm curious, was growing up, you had an appreciation for animation and
Hmm.
that type of thing. Was it something that you were thinking about that you would want to do, or did you have an idea? Well, I wanted to do something else, or thought about being something else.
Honestly, like my appreciation, and I kind of have to backtrack too, because it's like I'm starting to realize all roads lead back to my family.
Yeah.
My mom and dad they love film, but my mom is like a big film buff, and
Mm-hmm.
she introduced us early on to, I mean, without me really, when I look back now, without really realizing, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got schooled by my mom without knowing it. Like she would talk to us about some of the black and white movies, some of the movies that she grew up with that is, way beyond our generation. But she would show it to us and she would actually say why she liked it, the
Mm-hmm.
acting of this character, or,
Really
you
broke it
know,
down to you.
yeah, like, something that I really learned from her was you can definitely, what is it? It's like show a little bit more, but the subtlety,
Mm-hmm.
like the subtext of things,
Yeah.
right? So you can see like the passion in a, woman's eyes and a man's eyes, and you can tell that they're in love.
Yeah.
And what they used to do back then is, you knew that there was going to be a love scene, and they was just cut, right? He picks up like Clark Gable picking up, and I'm sorry about that reference, but it's like picking up, Scarlett O'Hara, and they go off, to the room, and you know exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So she used to really hone in on that, and I think that's where my first appreciation for film came. When it comes to animation, though, I owe a lot to my sister.
Really.
And yes, so we were living in Japan, for those 6 years. And no, I don't speak Japanese. I'm so
Uh,
sorry, people.
it's a
I
hard
picked up a
language.
few words here and there, but um, over there, they really treat animation for what it is. It's
Mm,
it's a medium.
mm,
It's not a genre. It's a medium. It's a medium to tell stories.
yeah.
And she was so into it. My sister being the artist herself, which I'm going to point out, this
Oh,
painting was
beautiful
done by
piece.
her. Yes.
Yes. Love it.
Um, but she was so into animation. She would be drawing all the time. And, I was the little sister that would hang out with her, that co-viewing experience.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, like I was just watching with her. Sometimes I didn't understand what was happening, and she would explain it to me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of what we were watching was in Japanese. So, with that being said, although we didn't understand the language, we kind of got from the gestures,
Yeah.
things that were like there's stuff that you can pick on up
Yeah.
as a kid.
It's such a, like I said, I think when Miss Alicia, her name doesn't show up, but this is, I'm looking at my Facebook, the Facebook group. This is Alicia. Appreciate you joining, Alicia, tuning in. If you would like to, like I said, I know some people from Facebook are kind of tuning in. Please give Ecamm permission to pull your avatar so we can really give you the props that you deserve. Pull your name and avatar. Go to ecamm.com/connect and give Ecamm permission. If you're tuning, it's a Facebook thing. Most of the people from YouTube and LinkedIn, I see their names and avatars come through. But that's just a Facebook issue. But like I said, if you would like to interact with the broadcast and I give you the shout out and everything that you deserve, go to ecamm.com/connect and give Ecamm permission to pull your avatar. But what I was saying is, I think anime and Japanese animation just brought a whole different level because we were so used to Disney, Warner Brothers, that type of thing. When anime, and it's always been big over there. The animation scene has always been big over there. But when it
Oh yeah.
started coming over here, it just brought this whole different style of storytelling on a much more cerebral level. I remember,
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I must have watched Akira like 3, 4, 5 times before it really soaked in, because it's got so many different layers to it that, we're so used to looking at the visual that we're not thinking so much about just the underlying story of it and what it's trying to say.
No, absolutely. I think one of my favorite animes growing up is it's called Shouju Kakume Utena.
Mm-hmm.
Its translation is A Revolutionary Girl Utena. And oh my goodness, it's one of those series that it starts out very, rosy, and then all of a sudden it just gets dark, and
Yeah.
it has so many allegories to it. And one of the things I loved about it was that it really is about the adolescent time, that coming of age. Like, how confusing is that? And, like, just our dreams and desires trying to be manifested, but we don't know how, right? It's just, it's a total, I don't want to say the word, but it's just, it messes with your mind, right?
As it should, really get you to thinking.
Yes, and that's the thing, like the quality that anime has. And don't get me wrong, like not all anime
Yeah.
is the best,
Yeah.
but there's
Yeah.
a lot of, I think, creativity that comes with, also we're talking about the Japanese culture, the
Yeah.
mythology behind it,
Yeah.
and the stuff that they believe in that they're able to bring,
Yeah.
onto the screen,
Yeah.
and still we can relate to it.
Relate
So
to it, which is why I say it's we're all universal in the fact that we
yes,
feel things, we want the same things, we love the same things, type of things, where there's this common ground that we can all, you can go into an anime movie or watch it, and as an African American, as a Latino, as a Asian, there's something that you can pull out of it, because it's a universal feeling.
absolutely. And especially like with what a lot of people don't realize, right, is that Asian cultures and Latino cultures actually have a lot in common. When it comes to like the structure of family, food being a big thing, like there's so much commonality to the point that you recognize things in your own culture as you start to watch,
Yeah.
other cultures too.
Yeah. Yeah. So did and I'm not a writer, although I'm trying to work on my writing chops a little. Um, how do you know get your mindset in that, like I said, breaking down characters to be more layered, more deep, really getting into the, like you said, the kind of nuances of who a character is, what a story is, and just the framework of pulling in and keeping people kind of engaged.
I'm laughing because my writing partner would say that I'm a method writer. So there is a point, first of all, like for me, I love character. That's always been the thing that draws me in, that pulls me into a story. The thing that animation has is that it adds the visual to it. So if you have something that's beautiful or it's just like very different, or you're like, that's curious, it's going to pull you in. As far as like a story, right? Um, I think it's almost the same thing like a book.
Yeah.
When you're reading a book, that first paragraph is pretty much the pitch of what the story might be. And if it can't pull you in, then you might lose the reader. But some stories require a little bit more development too, right? So it all, I think it all also depends on the age group that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Um, so like for me, I always go in with the character. I try to live the character. There's a point where there's aspects of the character that I'll take from me, or be inspired by other people. And then there's a point where you have to let go and let that character become their own, right? And I think that's how you kind of start to formulate, story. And there's really no wrong way of doing it. I know of writers that they'll start with the world. Like my writing partner, he's very much into world building, and he's excellent. Like he has an imagination that I think if I went into his head, like like
That's coming with
yes,
metaverse.
yes, it's like what that world would look like. Um, but yeah, I don't think there's ever the same way that any writer would approach story. I think for me personally, yes, I have to figure out who this character is, and I really start to get into their brain. I'm like, what does this character want? Like, why is this character being this way? Like, one of the stories that I wrote that I ended up finalizing right as a 20, I think it was 2019, the animation screencraft competition. One of my characters, the main character, she's pretty much, you know, I took from my experience of living in Japan and decided to make her kind of like half Asian, but then
Mhm.
also brought in the Puerto Rican part and made her half Latina.
Yeah.
And what I did was I just really dug in there and thought about what was I going through at that age, right? Um, and then also keeping in mind that at that age is different from this generation too. So yeah, it's a process to be honest with you. Like I
Yeah.
think, I mean, even if you think about the amount of drafts that you go through, it's just to write a story in
Yeah.
itself and how those characters evolve. So I think, did I answer your
No,
question? Now I'm trying to remember.
no,
Like,
you
wait,
did. No,
what did he
you
ask?
answered it for sure. You answered it for sure. We're gonna throw a few comments in there, Mr. Gabe. Love film and animation. Yeah, I'm like I said, I love it, love it, love it, love it. This is why Japanese anime is now so popular and powerful, and
Yes.
now in the youth culture. My kids love anime. Yeah, like I said, and again, like Jeanette was saying, there, it's layers to anime as well. You got the Dragon Ball Z type of thing, and
Yes.
then you got the Akira. So you got a wide range of anime styles for sure. But like I said, what I always enjoyed was they brought their own culture and flavor
Yes.
to it, and so it was something I got to experience for sure. Um, for you, was it something immediately noticeable as you were starting to come into your screenwriting kind of
Hmm.
own, that you weren't seeing stories and characters that really reflected your culture, who you and you know were, that type of thing?
I think, and I would have to say, particularly here for the U.S., right? Because if you go to other countries, you'll see I mean, first of all, they'll represent their own
Yeah,
culture,
yeah,
and sometimes they'll try to emulate other cultures too. Um, for me, I'm just being honest here. Let's keep it real.
yeah. No, no,
I
yeah,
don't think I don't think I was thinking about that at the time. I think I was just thinking about, I just want to tell stories and I want to tell fun stories, and something that animation has done for me. And I don't tell this to a lot of people, but I think it's important to mention, right? Is that it was a form of escapism for me. It was almost like my therapy too.
yeah,
Like I said, my sister introduced me to it, and we had a great childhood. And but then you start to grow up, and life is life, and topic for another occasion, right? But we did experience some hardships too, and that was always our happy place, you know. So you know and it's just bringing back certain memories. But I think at the beginning, all I wanted to do was just to be able to tell stories,
yeah,
stories that um, will kind of do the same thing that animation has done for me, bring happiness to children, to young adults, and to even to adults. Um, I wanted to tell stories that everyone could relate to, for sure. And I also wanted to, you know, I wanted to tell stories that people could live in. I think that's the difference with animation. It's like there's just something about it, and I know that it holds true for, like, live action film, but there's just something magical about animation that just transforms and can keep you distracted, and it gives you hope in a sense too. Um, I think it was later on that I started to discover, as I was writing certain characters, that I'm like, why can't this character be, Latinx?
yeah,
Why can't this character, wait a second, I'm grabbing from my own childhood. Well, why can't I include these elements
yeah,
from it?
yeah,
And the more TV I saw, and films and all that, the more I was like, we have the same stories.
yeah,
We
yeah,
were talking about this before, starting. It's like there's professionals, there's, like you sort of said, there's people that love, there's people that, the school stories, right?
yeah,
That everyone can relate to. Um, the story of certain types of struggle.
yeah,
Like, why can't it just be, a Latinx person?
yeah,
Like, why not?
yeah,
We all go through the same thing, right? So I think I became more conscious about that and wanting to, it wasn't even an effort. It was like, wait a second, I'm going to switch this because I'm going to be able to speak more from the heart, if I'm able to represent myself on screen. And also, something that really changed for me was, I have some very close friends, that they've had children. And so I'm the honorary aunt. And, I started to think about, what do I want them to see? What type of stories do I want to put out there?
yeah,
These girls, these boys, they deserve to see themselves on the screen.
yeah,
So, although it wasn't at the forefront of my thoughts at the time, it definitely has encapsulated who I am now. And it's weird, but at the same time, it's kind of like the message I want to tell other writers, is that even when you get into this, you're still trying to figure out who you are, your voice. And I would say don't rush it. It's just like, just live in it. Just, bask in it, right?
Yeah,
Just let yourself, like, all of those emotions, they'll come out best when you just let yourself go, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
let yourself write the stories as authentically as possible.
yeah, yeah. And like you said, it's not as until as you start to get older that you realize the impact, really the impact of it, and this kind of self image of what you think is acceptable for. And I think that's,
Exactly.
and I don't know, and maybe you can kind of give your thoughts on it or 2 cents on it. Do you feel like that's where the position where a lot of studios and companies are coming from? They're feeling like the mainstream won't accept it, or won't go to see it, or whatever it is. And I don't know, they kind of had this thought, I guess, when Black Panther came out, that it wouldn't touch as many people as it, all black movie, or all Latino movie, or all Asian movie would really be mainstream to where it would reach out. They felt. Do you feel like studios kind of get in their back of their mind that, well, maybe we could have a side character that's Latino, or African American, or whatever, but as a whole, as a story driving it, that's their thought process of, well, we don't know whether it's gonna be reachable to everybody, that type of thing? Or do you feel like now it's starting to shift a little?
I think there's still a little bit of you know comfort that dictates, if something has been working for them, they it's sometimes it's hard to take, risks, and until another studio does it.
Yeah,
So, like, for instance, we know that, especially with the superhero genre, just to bring that as an example, if you're reading the trades, we knew that there was development from other studios to want to bring in, like, a female, right,
yeah,
at the forefront. And but it just wasn't being done. And then Wonder Woman came out, and all of a sudden, what, women, like, a
yeah,
woman that's in front, and people want to see a woman, lead. Wow, that's amazing. But then think about, like Kill Bill,
yeah,
like, you've had that content, like, that desire is there. And I think that what it is, that some studios, they might be afraid, to take that leap. And sometimes it's just misinformation, right? But we also know that studio heads, executives, like, that starts to change out after a while.
yeah,
We
yeah,
know we know that there are people that are coming into these positions
yeah,
that are able to educate the studio as a whole.
yeah, yeah,
So I think that is shifting. I do feel like there is more of a push, just to tell stories at the forefront that do have, diversity, and not just Latinos, or, African American, or, Asian. Like, I think there is such an effort out there right now. And, this is the time. This is an exciting time to be a part of. Is it enough? I dare say that we can do more.
yeah.
We can
No,
definitely do more.
a
So
lot
I
more.
think it's a little bit of both, for
Yeah,
sure.
and I don't know, and like I said, and I was kind of thinking about this the other day, because I saw uh, a post on, I think it was LinkedIn. It was a LinkedIn post about a new animation that's coming out, um, on the story of David and Goliath. Biblical story on
There
David
you
and
go.
Goliath. But I was looking at it, and of course, David is white, to be honest. And I'm
Yeah,
thinking, and on a certain level, I get it, because people are going to tell a story from their perspective. Whether it's
absolutely. Yeah.
authentically or culturally right. They're going to tell it from their kind of point of view. I get, but I was thinking to myself, I was like, oh man, you know, I get it, and I like the fact that they're animating like biblical stories and this and that, but why be afraid to I guess follow a sort of truer narrative, I would say. And I'm not down it. It's probably going to be a great movie. Just like I love Prince of Egypt that Disney put out. You know, but I think there's a like I said, you really do start to see the impact of how people really perceive themselves when they're not seeing themselves told in a more kind of authentic way, and especially with characters that are okay. I don't know if he was like that white living over there
Yeah.
at that time, but that kind of thing. And I feel like you said, it's starting to change. Oh, DreamWorks. Yeah, DreamWorks. Sorry about that.
That was some.
Yeah, DreamWorks. I said Disney. DreamWorks. And I love Prince of Egypt. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. I thought it was a great animation. Uh, but in I think this comes home to the point, and I kind of come back to, like I said, I'm talking from a African American Black point of view, and I've seen like you know little kids when they're given the choice of a black doll or a white doll, they gravitate towards the white doll because they think it's more beautiful. They think it's something that's more acceptable. That's why I feel it's such a powerful thing when you can see toys that really look like you, characters that really look like you, people that look like you creating them and really showing the rest of the world that this is what our story is like. These are what our characters are like. This is what our culture is like, and really telling it in an authentic way. I mean, there's a phrase from the movie The Color Purple, where one of the characters says, I think God gets pissed off when he sees people walk by the color. She used the color purple, but just I say color and don't appreciate it. And I think that's where we kind of have this disconnect. We feel like if it doesn't look like us or sound like us, we can't appreciate it for what they bring, the culture that's behind them, that type of thing.
Yeah, we're about to get deep here.
Let's go
I'm all
deep.
for
We're
it. I'm
going
all for it.
deep.
Uh, I love it. I think, as you were speaking, I was just thinking about, I've watched, I don't know why during the pandemic I had this kick to watch documentaries all of a sudden, but they were great documentaries. And, something that I realized too, it's a lot of it has to do with the generational shift too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I remember, and I used to hear this too. It's like, even from, you know, other other cultures where it was like, you know, lighter the skin, the more beautiful,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's something that now I'm so happy to see that now it's more about embracing it. Like I remember, what was it, like girls trying to straight out their hair because they wanted to have straight hair. Um and which is ironic, right? Because now I feel like I'm seeing like a lot more people trying to tan. So I'm like,
And
I
that's
got that down
and see
already.
that's the irony. That is therein lies a lot of the irony
Yes,
because you
absolutely.
got like I said, there's some white. I'm not gonna say everybody, but there's some
Yeah.
white people that say I need to tan. I need to get some color in me. I need my lips fuller. I need my backside a little bit fuller. That type of thing, I think, is what kind of drives us a little batty because you want on the one side you want to not put us out there. You want to kind of put our accomplishments, what makes us unique, what makes us beautiful. But on the other side, you're trying to grab it because you see it as something that's beautiful, and that's and my thing is appreciate who you are. Like I said, appreciate if you're white, appreciate the fact that you're white, and that's fine. You know, if you're but appreciate what everybody else has and what everybody else is bringing. Appreciate, that's why I love looking at Alicia's drawings because
Oh my
they
goodness.
reflect
My
her
gosh, yes.
color, her passion, her palette, her culture, and she illustrates it in such a way where I feel it. I'm not Latina or Latino, but when I look at her work, I can get the essence of who she is and what she brings with her culture. That type of thing, and I can appreciate that. That's my point. Everybody should be able to appreciate the colors that everybody brings. And if everybody was the same color, if everything was white or if everything was black or if everything was, Latino, we wouldn't appreciate it. I mean, my thinking is that's why God created colors for us to see and appreciate and love. So that's why like I said, love this show because it's really opened this door to so many other different kind of stories and cultures and art and content that, like I said, unless you're actively going searching for it, you're not gonna see for the most part. You know,
That is true. No, no, and I agree. Like, you know, I think the best work is when you're your authentic self too. And like I give credit to, especially like as we're moving on, generations to come, like I feel like there's this huge shift where now people realize it is my responsibility, and that's another topic there too, that I know we want to see more stories that are more representative of what our world is, like me from the Latinx community, you know but it's up to people like me, it's up to
yeah,
people like you, it's up to us to tell those stories then,
yeah,
and unfortunately, it's not always easy, right? To get the funding to, you know, we were talking, like I said, we were talking about this earlier. It's like
yeah,
you have to hustle.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
not many people understand that hustle.
yeah,
So, in order for us to get our stories out there, sometimes it takes way longer,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
But
But I also
I,
agree with you to the point where now um, that kind of old guard generation is dying off, and new people of diverse, backgrounds are starting to come into these positions and starting to say, "Hey, we hear what people have been crying for, wanting something different. Let's bring that to the table." And I use them. They don't sponsor the show. They don't
yeah,
sponsor the show, but I love Netflix because Netflix is one of those companies that's willing to really step out with the stories and the content that they put out there. That kind of forces other people, other studios, other companies to start to do it too.
yes,
Now, like I said, you hate to force people, force companies, but they've listened to what people want to, what people say they want. They want different stories, and it's
that's
interesting.
so true. But that's so true. It's like sometimes it's just, like we're talking about that, it just takes risk, and not many studios are willing to do that, but when one studio does and they see the results, like Black Panther was the perfect example of that, right? All of a sudden it's like, there's a gold mine here, and
Yeah,
unfortunately studios, their language is mostly
money.
money.
Yeah, bottom line for them is dollars. Well, I take that back. I would hope. I would. I know the majority of their bottom line is dollars, but I would like to think behind some of that is a moral compass that they are trying to go by. I'm not gonna paint the brush that
Right,
every company is like that, and it's
absolutely.
I feel like it's unfortunate that it took this kind of unsocial rest and things like that were going on in this country to kind of move companies to start to really step up and do that. But the fact that they're making these changes, listening to what the majority of the people really want to see, really want to hear, they're starting to take that step out there. You know, some are doing it faster than others, of course, but they're starting to do that.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's unfortunate that you know, tragedy is what has to happen, you know, like let's I mean, it's just even rewinding like when I think back about you know, like Hurricane Maria hitting Puerto Rico, and then all of a sudden people started to know more about Puerto Rico, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, wait, they're a territory, they're part of the United States. They're being treated this way." And all of a sudden there's like this consciousness, you know, the Me Too movement, you know,
Yeah,
un- you know, and unfortunately what has happened the past years with, you know, of course we have the Black Lives Matter.
yeah, yeah,
And, you know, I take a moment to just like really think in that unfortunately something bad has to happen in order for something good to come
yeah,
out of it.
yeah.
Um, which
And
I wish that wasn't the
yeah,
case,
and I think
but
that goes back to where you were saying people need to step out of the box that
mhm.
that they're they've grown up in, that they're normally in. You know, go have a have a conversation, even if it's in line. If you're in coffee line behind somebody that's African American, Latino, have a conversation, and you may learn something about them and about yourself that you
Yes.
probably wouldn't have thought about had you not taken that step outside of the block that we've all kind of grown up in. And like I said, I'm not immune from it or excluded from it because, like I said, it wasn't until, like I said, I really got out of the block, got out of my city, got out of my country, and visited other places that my worldview started to really expand. And then with the internet and this ability to connect with people on the other side of the planet, it really does open up these things that you wouldn't have thought about that you suddenly realize, yeah, there's different, we have different cultures, but we all, like I said, we share these same sensibilities about what life, we want our lives to be like, the heartaches we go through, the loves that we go through, the laughter that we go through. Human nature, yeah, Kenneth, human nature is universal. We all feel and
Oh
want
my
these
gosh.
things,
Yes.
you know? And that's where I think the beauty of these stories and these contents are really going to open up this world to what it truly could be. You know, when content creators, writers such as yourselves really start telling stories that, like I said, are not the typical type of things that, you know, most people, the Western culture here, or, you know, I'm sure, and it's interesting because, you know, I was watching, and I don't know if you've ever seen it, uh, Will and Jada Smith's Jada
The Red Table.
Red Table, and she
Yeah.
had a conversation on there with Lisa Ling, and they were talking about the Asian community as it pertains to African American. But you know, I'm sure Puerto Ricans got their perceptions about African Americans. They got their perceptions about every race has their own perception about the other race, you know, from their perspective. And then, like I said, it's not until you have these general conversations with everyday people that, like I said, you under beneath all the kind of cultural differences that we may have, there's a basic thing that we all share. You know, there's a base,
Humanity,
yeah,
you know?
humanity
Yeah.
is something basic that we all share, we all want, we all laugh, we all cry, we all, like I said, there's a thing that we have in common that I'm excited about. People like you that are writing stories, and they don't, like I said, you know, they don't all have to necessarily be about, you know, Latino, but they're coming from your perspective. So there's a little bit of that flavor that you're going to bring to it from your perspective that brings a trueness.
Right, and it's interesting because as you were talking, I was recalling I've had this conversation before with many people that they're unaware of the fact that most Latinos are mixed. Like there's a big Spanish influence. There's also a Native American influence. And that's something that holds very true for especially the Caribbean culture. Like when I was growing up, I had moved to Puerto Rico at that point. They would teach us in school that, you know, the Puerto Rican is a mix of Spanish, African, and Taino, which
Yeah,
is our Native American. So it's, and it was kind of, it wasn't shocking. It was just more like, huh, I never thought about that. And also too that, we're different shades.
yeah,
Like you have as white as can be to as black as can be in the
yeah,
Caribbean,
yeah,
and it's like what a beautiful thing, to
yeah,
have that mix.
yeah,
Um, and I wish that was something that people were more aware of, right? Because there's always like either it's just you're either one or the other.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
They tend to clump
yes,
races together with, and that was the thing that Lisa Ling was saying. Within the Asian community, there's so many different Asians. There's so many different, dialects that, different ones have that we tend to clump. Okay, all Asians. They're all, Korean, whatever it is, Chinese. We tend to clump them into this one group when, even within that group, there's still such a vast difference.
yes, absolutely. Like, and I was speaking from the Latino perspective. Not that I ever felt offended by being called, from another, country, but it's the way, that sometimes it's expressed. Like, they'll clump everyone into like, oh, you're Mexican.
Yeah,
And guess what? There's a lot of beautiful things about the Mexican culture. Like,
yeah,
I am dying to go over to Mexico at some point. So, um, but it also erases everyone else's identity when you do that,
yeah,
and I think it's the same thing for like Asians. Like sometimes I've heard it where they'll clump and say, oh, Japanese or Korean or
yeah,
Chinese, you're
yeah,
all the same. Speak different languages.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like different cultures. They live it, they're like geographically they're in different places. So it's something that the Latino community has had to deal with. And um, my hope, and especially with, friends that I have that are from other Latin American countries, is that we can do the best representation of that,
yeah,
and celebrate everyone. That's what it's about. That's the beauty of it. Being
yeah.
able, the ability to share and celebrate, you know,
And
everyone's
appreciate and
background.
learn and appreciate. And I think
Yes.
that's the big thing. If you could walk away with a better understanding of whatever culture that you just, embraced and saw, then you're going to come out a better person. I'm curious, um, the organization that you're in, when did it get started? What was, I mean, obviously the main objective was kind of to really, highlight and push for Latinos in animation. What do you see as the biggest impact? What do you hope is going to be a bigger impact coming from it?
So I'm part of Latinx in animation. We call it Lexia for short, LXIA. And anyone can check it out,
We're going to put the link in the show
latinxinanimation.org.
notes. All
Yes.
these links will
Awesome.
be in the show
Okay.
notes to connect.
So I joined because it started out at Dreamworks. Our founder, Magdiela Duemen, and Brian Dimas, like they formulated it back when they were in DreamWorks at the time, and then I know what happened was, and I'm going to give you like the Clip Notes version of
Yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah.
but basically there was a desire to expand from there, and so I became part of it in 2018, I believe. I think we've been around for 3 years already. Yes. In 2018, when they decided to celebrate a kind of like a gathering, and there was a huge turnout. And that's when they knew, hey, like we have something here, right? It's
There's
like
more of us in
we've
there.
got something, yeah. Um, so what started out as a small core group of people just trying to figure it out, and also, gosh, I kind of miss those days at times. It was just all of us trying to get, the name out there, and also like branding, right? And also, you know, let our voices be known. Let us, let our mission be known, that, there are stories about us, but we also want those stories to be made by us, told by us. So it started out with a bunch of, like panels, gatherings, a lot of networking, and eventually started to shift, in these past, especially this past year, where now it's more like of that push of, you know, clarity, right? Hey, there's more of us out there. We're here. There's artists, and of course within that art community, that it's huge, right? Because there's so many different disciplines.
Yeah.
There's the writers. There are people that studios aren't even aware of. That was one of our pushes have been for making sure that our members can be served by opportunity, right? And you know as far as the organization goes, although it's, there's still this sense of, like we want to educate. We still want to hold panels, we still want to hold events that will, help our membership. Now I think it's more of the action,
Yeah.
and that's something that we're highly interested in, is making sure that, realistically the people we have can also get hired, and have their first opportunities, and, be a resource for those people that are trying to figure out how to break in. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if I look back, I didn't have, like, I call it a tío or tia, right? Like an aunt or uncle in the industry. I had to figure a lot of stuff out. And, you know, something that I wanted to avoid is, although struggle is necessary, there's no reason why you have to make it harder on somebody
Yeah.
to actually enter the industry. So my own pitfalls, or whatever mistakes I have, committed in the past, I try to share that with other people. And especially this year, like, I would have to say, like, even members of our own organization, without being told to, like, a lot of us have taken that initiative to actually try to mentor other
Yeah.
people, reach out and help each other, because that's what it's going to take,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we're trying to close that gap, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's about taking people up that ladder with you, not waiting. I think I said this before, right? It's like, don't wait 10 years to be that person that has experience. And I'm sorry, guys, Latinos like to speak with their hands,
Yeah.
so
Hey,
I'm very passionate right now.
I'm with you.
Uh, but yeah, it's about closing that gap,
Yeah.
and who better to do it than us, and who better than to collaborate, because that's the other thing too. We're collaborating with other organizations that are like-minded,
Yeah.
including like Asians in animation. There's Black in animated. There's
Yeah. Yeah.
women in animation. We're that's it's what it's going to take for
Yeah.
things to happen.
Yeah.
So
No, I definitely agree with you. Mr. DeMille agrees with you too. There's definitely this need for more mentorship, going to underserved schools, showing, the kids that are there, the younger ones that are there, that this is avenue that they can go down. We're all, I think, here on this planet to help one another, and carry each other, and take each other on the ride, especially if you figured out and maneuvered it yourself. and kind of see the pitfalls and the things that other people can kind of avoid. Not necessarily saying that they're going to take them out the way altogether, but having a sense of somebody saying, well, this is what I went through at this, kind of studio. These are the challenges I kind of went through, and helping somebody along the way. For
Yeah,
you,
it's just to interject. I'm
no, go
sorry
ahead. No,
because I'm just the thought popped in my brain right now, but um, you know, it's you're still gonna have to do the work, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
an artist, guess what? If they want to become the best artist, they have to practice. A writer, the same thing too. You still have to do the work. It's about removing the obstacles, the unnecessary
yeah,
obstacles, right?
yeah.
Where sometimes you just need that shot.
Yeah,
You need that
level
fresh
playing
shot.
field. It's just a level playing
Exactly.
field for sure. And let me get your thought on it as far as this time that we're in now, with so many different channels and so many different avenues that can allow the content creator to get their content, whether it's a writer, animator, musician, filmmaker, whatever it might be. What are your thoughts on this time that we kind of live in now, that, it is a lot more level as far as, the big studios. We can, put our film out there. We're a filmmaker. We can make our animation if we want to put in the time ourselves, or gather a group of people to create something, you know.
It's definitely the resources are there. Like I'm a millennial. Sorry, millennials, Lord generation. I am a millennial. I saw when I think I have a theory that the internet existed before, but um, we were part of that generation that got to see, the transition from like, what they'll call a dumb phone. I learned that from my writing partner to a smartphone. We got to see the transition of the internet, and what computers have become, right? So I think, as negative as social media can be at times, it can be such a positive thing too,
Yeah,
right? We
yeah,
have like shows such as, The Color of Motion. So I think we're in I'm sure a lot of people are saying that it's an exciting time, but it's an opportunistic time.
yeah.
We should be taking advantage of the fact that we have things that are here at our fingertips where we can get content out.
Mm,
If you're not getting noticed, and I say that more for, the filmmakers, the directors, the people that are aspiring in on that part of the artistic side, then definitely try to make your own content.
yeah,
No
yeah,
matter how long it takes. For
yeah,
writers, a little bit different
yeah,
because we
yeah.
can't exactly
Well,
put
I
our
mean,
content out
but
there.
but
But
even
yeah,
as a writer, you're able to
yes,
self-publish now. You're able to self-publish
yes,
your stuff. You're able to, like I said, if you're an animation writer, you have the internet's giving you access to connect with animators or people to
yes.
bring together to pull your
You
idea and
can
your story.
collaborate.
Yeah, collaborate
That's what
and,
it is.
and
Yeah.
pull your idea together. Um, hey, you can tell by the gray hairs, I'm a baby boomer. So I, like I said, I remember before smartphones. I remember before emails. I remember when, it was just, you had to hope somebody was home when you called them. Otherwise, you were
That's
going to
true.
miss them. I remember mailboxes and telephone booths on every corner. I remember that. But I also am a forward thinking person. I love technology and I love where it's taking us. Like anything, it can be used for good and bad.
Yes.
But I think the opportunity, and I'm speaking from a content creator such as yourself, there is so much opportunity out there, whatever it may be, to get this that's in your head out into the world. Where, however it
Yes.
may be. Like you said, it's going to come down to, you still have to put in the work, you still have to put in the hustle behind it, but the opportunity for you is there.
Yeah, it seems definitely limitless, I say seems, right? Because even like when I think about as a writer, well, guess what? Although I can't post my things out there, I can definitely create a website,
Yep. Yeah.
that talks about myself. I can collaborate with an artist, which I have done before. Alicia was one of those artists that did some work for me, so love her, love her. But I've also been able to collaborate with other people that weren't necessarily here, in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the power that technology has given us now, and we should take advantage of it.
Yeah. Made the world such a smaller place that opens you up to so many, like I said, talent that you wouldn't have ordinarily had access to or even known about, before. If you're just joining us, my good friend Jeannette and I we're having a deep, deep, deep conversation,
Really getting into it.
and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I can only speak for myself. I hope you guys are loving it as well. We're gonna throw some definite comments up here for sure. Mr. Demille, yeah, this yeah, he uses some interesting words. Scrumptious, delicious, edibly tasty good to me. I appreciate that. And that's the whole purpose of the conversation, is to make it something that you walk away thinking a little differently, get a different perspective, see the difference and diversity that's out there, and know that it's out there for sure. For you, like I said, you love animation, but you've also written for live stuff as well. Is there, a major difference to your approach, or are you just thinking initially story, or when you sit down, you're thinking this
Right.
is a live action or this is an animation?
To be honest with you, I think I usually will go to animation only because, like I said, my experience with it as a medium is that you can tell stories that don't necessarily have to have special effects, or are just, like, let's think about Bob's Burgers, for example,
Yeah.
right? Let's think about um a guilty pleasure of mine was Archer.
Mm-hmm.
But you know these are stories, and then even going back to anime, right? Because all roads lead back to anime. No, I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah, yeah.
But these are stories that you can still tell what we would call like a prime time, right? Prime time series stories, like the way it is structured. And I always use Japan as an example because of how well they use the medium. Is that you'll have your serious prime time story that could be like a detective type story, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and this there's no magic in it. There's no fantasy in it. So I approach it the same way. Uh, the only difference I will say is that it comes down to age group, and that I think that's what a lot of people aren't aware of, right? Is when you're writing for animation, and then it also depends on specifics of the show that you might be writing on too.
Yeah.
So some some scripts are simpler than others. Um, as far as like the format, the way you would go into live action is the exact same way you would go into, like, if you're doing animation. The only difference is the description. And I do feel that with animation, if you're like, say, you're, especially if you're doing like an action type genre, you have to go into a little bit more descriptors, of what that action is.
Yeah.
Because something that I've learned from my friends that are, either storyboard artists or, animators themselves, they'll say, hey, it really helps when you kind of tell us what this fight scene is supposed to be like. Because then what you're doing is if you put, like in live action, they'll put like, fight scene, right?
Yeah.
Starts, ensues. And in live action, of course, different components, different moving, there's a lot of moving parts. You have to have a fight choreographer, right? You have to have the director's vision in it too. With animation, you have the artist, and if you put, start fight sequence here, the artist now has to figure out what that fight
Fight
sequence
sequence
looks
looks
like.
like. Yeah.
So that's something that I think is a little bit different. Also, too, if you're writing for like a 6 to 11 versus preschool, right?
Yeah.
Some of the language varies. With preschool, it's very, it's tied into words and visual, you know. So if you say something that might go over a preschooler's head, you're going to have to explain it with the visuals, or you're going to have to simplify it more. So there are, like I said, there are some slight differences, but the overall structure of it is the same,
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Now,
and that's the thing.
is there one that you enjoy more than others? Say like writing animation for the younger, as opposed to say an adult and style
Oh
animation, or
man.
sci-fi, or you know, I mean, where do you feel like you? Of course, you write a lot of different stuff, but what do you feel
Right.
like kind of is your little bit of lane that you like writing in?
It's a little bit of a hard question. Only because usually, like if I'm thinking about the shows that I'm on, I have intentionally wanted to write for these shows, because of the representation that it brings. Like writing on Alma's Way was very important to me. Once I heard about the project, I was like, yes, like 1,000 times, yes, I want to write on this show. I didn't even know. This is how serious I am. I didn't even know how much it was going to pay. I was just already with the mindset I'm
Yeah.
going to write on that show. It was the same thing for Santiago of the Seas. Like I'm like I got to write on that show. Um, I think I don't know. I think for me it's like the story. Like as long as the story is interesting, um, I will say personally when it comes to my own, originals, I do tend to lean more towards a little bit older than that 6 to 11. It's just the wheelhouse of some of my
Yeah.
thoughts. The stories that I want to tell. So I don't necessarily lean towards the preschool or bridge, right?
Yeah.
Um, I can enjoy writing for certain shows for sure, but I think my ideas are mostly, I would even dare say, young adult, little bit more young adult. I think too, like I really like the coming of age stories, so a lot of that is going to be a little bit older. So I like that 6 to 11, but it's almost like saying 8 to 14,
Yeah.
right? And then even older. But at the end of the day, yeah, I think a good story, no matter what universe it lives in, as long as it like catches my attention and I can connect to it, then yes, like I'll write for that.
Gotcha.
I do like fantasy as well. Like I do like action. Big. I'm a huge superhero fan. Um, but yeah, it's like
Okay.
it's
Okay.
like food for thought now.
Hmm. We got a
Yeah.
question here, and I'm going to let you read this one since it's for you.
Okay, this is question. What was one of the earliest challenges you faced when beginning at DreamWorks, and how did you overcome it? So, I will say I didn't work at DreamWorks. Um, I have worked. I've done a lot of freelance work, but I can still tell you, um, as far as just like working for a studio. I don't know if you want to have the opportunity to clarify, like if you want another question or, um,
Uh, well, Demille, if you want to throw in another question or
yeah,
kind of clarify that, but Jeanette, you can give your perspective of just, what you were
studio,
getting,
yeah.
yeah, just studio, what you were getting ready to say.
Um, when you're working, it just depends too. It's when you're working with studios, it's like each studio has its. I guess you could say. I'm trying to look for the word. It's like
Yeah.
as I search my thoughts here, but each studio has its way of doing things.
Own process of,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. I don't know. Like the challenges. I don't. I don't. I don't. think I can really say that the challenges of working with one studio versus the other. I think it's more for me, it's like the challenges of working on one show versus the other, right?
Yeah.
And how that room is ran. Um, every showrunner, you know, every crew is going to have a very different process. Um, I think for me, the challenges I would have to say is jumping from one show to the other and, you know, adapting to some of those differences, like how this creator approaches, you know, the writer's room, how this creator approaches it. Um, I've been spoiled though. I've had a wonderful experience with the writing rooms that I've been. I've actually learned a lot from them too. It's been very collaborative. Um, I would only say like maybe the challenge of being a freelancer versus a staff writer.
Yeah.
You know, as a freelancer, you're going from basically from gig to gig, you know, and that holds true no matter what discipline you're in. You're trying to find that next job. The cool thing about it though is that you get to experience, you know, what it's like being on this show, what it's like being on that show, and you kind of start to formulate, well, you know, this is what I liked, you know, this is what I didn't like, this is what I would want to do if I were a show creator. Like it really is more of a, I would say like a learning experience, right? That you hope that you can take the best of it
Yeah.
and, you know, replicate it down the road when you have your own opportunity to run a room, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't, you know, like I think it's just so different for everyone too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will ask you, um, would you or have you had the opportunity to work on, say, a series where you're able to work on a character over a longer span of time and really flesh out, you know, the growth of a character from when you initially started to, like, over a
That's
series?
interesting.
You know, is that something that you would kind of like to get into, or have you, you know, had that opportunity to really work on a series where you're able to flesh out a character?
I've been able to do some development work. Um, and I will say that that process of development is very different from when you're already on an established show. Um, interesting enough, though, when I first started writing, when I landed my first job and all that, for some reason, all the shows that I was landing there afterwards, they were always new shows. So, um, so like Rainbow High was, you know, thanks to Elise Allen who gave me that first opportunity. Um, or she'll correct me. She'll say, "You have talent, kid." I'm like, "Yeah, but it still takes somebody to give you that
Yeah.
first, you know, in." So, um, that show, I know, you know, without getting to like, because you don't want to discuss, you know, exactly like what is it they do. But writing on that show, there was still development, you know, happening with certain characters. So, versus I think, you know, once you come into a show where most of it is figured out, yeah, like there's always something that you can kind of add to that character, a little bit of yourself in it, depending. Um, and I think that's possible when it's a show that's kind of still like it hasn't aired yet. It's the first season. It's about to, you know, it'll come out like in a year or so. There's still those opportunities, yes, to kind of like give ideas, right, and flesh out. But it's a very collaborative process. So you're not the only one, right? There's a group of writers. There's also, you know, some of the executives are there, and they're pitching all these different
Yeah.
ideas. Whereas with the development part of it, um, which again this year I've had the opportunity to do, it just depends. Sometimes if it's something that's already an established IP, then you're kind of at the mercy of, you know, what that particular studio wants.
Yeah.
But if it's something completely new, then yes, absolutely. You can put in, you can flesh out that character as long as you remain true to what the universe that that character lives in, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, those opportunities do exist,
Yeah.
and it's fun. You know, it definitely is fun when you get to expand on a character and their personality. So
Yeah, yeah, I
yeah.
can imagine. Again, for everybody just joining in and tuning in, having a great conversation with my friend Jeannette Lara, animation writer. And, you know, as we're kind of winding this down a little, um, just a quick question. What are some of, you know, the current animations that you've seen that, you know, that's pretty good writing. I like that, you know, that type of thing, you know, that's
Oh
kind of stuck out. Just give us like three that you
yeah.
may have seen.
Um, I am a fan of the Dragon Prince. I
Okay.
love that show. I'm still waiting for another season to come out, so it's like,
Have you seen
Um,
Arcane?
I have not yet. Like, oh my gosh. Okay. So talk about content, right? This conversation would not have been as difficult, say, 5 or so years ago. But now it's like there's so much content out there that I have to put it on my list of things to see. You know, and I'm, you know, of course I still enjoy watching a lot of live action stuff
Yeah,
too, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um but yeah, definitely the Dragon Prince is one of them. I want to see Arcane.
Amazing. Yeah.
Um I like there's one I'm curious to watch. I have it on my queue. It's Luck Dragon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um but oh my gosh. I can't believe I'm trying to think of like what is it that was my favorite. I recently saw Masters of the Universe. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
It was a different take for sure. And it's one of those shows I was like, huh, I didn't dislike it. It's still making me think. Like,
Yeah.
did I, did I like the approach they took? But this was cool when they did that. Um, Karma's World.
Mm,
Karma's World. I have to say, wow. Like, it almost feels like it's borderline 6 to 11, right? And it's still considered like, bridge, like young viewers. But oh my gosh, like I've absolutely enjoyed that show. Um, I recommend it to everyone, especially people that are trying to get into preschool that are, they're like, I want to do something different. I want to, like, I don't want it to be the typical. Preschool has changed so much,
mm.
I will say. It has really changed.
There's
Gosh.
so many good ones out there. I
Yeah.
tell you, there's so many good ones that I've seen. Like
There's
I said lately,
so
I don't know
so
if you've
much good
seen
content.
uh, Maya and the Three.
Oh my gosh, how could I, like, you know
That's
what?
yeah.
Yes.
Maya and the Three.
Yes.
I still always go back to Raya and the Last Dragon was awesome as well. There's just so many. That's why, like I said, that's why I love Netflix. They're just their animation machine is cranking them out in such great
Yes.
diverse styles of animation. I can't, another one you should watch is Yusuke. Um,
Oh yeah, I have to.
that's
Yeah.
another great one. That it was out. It's been out a few months.
Wait, that's the one with the samurai, right?
Samurai.
The
Yeah,
Oh,
the
I
first, the
did.
only
I
black
did.
samurai, Yasuki.
Yeah, I'm so sorry because it's funny because it's like, I've seen so much animation during the pandemic and now it's like pick a child that you like. I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
It's hard.
You don't yes, but Maya and the 3. Maya and the 3.
Yeah,
Oh my
it's
goodness.
amazing, amazing.
Masterful.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
You
amazing.
won't
So,
regret it.
like I
Yeah.
said, there's so much great content and great stories coming out there. I love it. Like I said, you definitely got to see Arcane. It's just so beautifully done.
Oh
A
man.
mix between such a beautiful mix between 2D and 3D, and the story is amazing. That's why I love animation. It's just you can take yourself to such interesting places with such interesting characters and so beautifully well done. It's just you get lost in it so much.
That's the magic of it. Absolutely. Like it's just it makes you forget.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
But
And
I also understand the power of how it can educate. Like I said,
yes.
I'm a big fan of. This may be a little bit before your time, but Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean that, like I said, shows you the power of how you can teach somebody through animation and song. I don't know too many people that don't know conjunction junction or I'm just a bill. It just shows you how I'm dating myself.
Oh
I'm
my
sorry.
gosh. That's
But
incredible though.
like I said, but it teaches you and it just explains things, especially to a younger audience, in such a more simplistic way, and it sticks. It sticks.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, absolutely. Like that's why like even I have to of course a little self promotion here, right? Like Alma's Way. Man. Oh my gosh. Like that's why she said preschool is not what it used to be. And it's I think it's changed into more of a having a conversation with kids,
Yeah.
right? And even adults alike. Like I've just absolutely enjoyed working on that show. That was like, and when the episodes they're starting to air already. Um, so I just like where this industry is going to,
Yeah.
like just the imagination of it, the
Oh
fact
yeah.
that it's ever changing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like you're saying, yeah, you can educate and you can still tell a story that you would tell like in live action. You can
Oh
still
man.
accomplish
Yeah.
that.
It's such and like I said, I think in some ways it's better than live action because uh, it can take
Subgenres.
yeah it can take you and
Yeah.
it can take you to places that just and just worlds that now with visual effects live action is pretty good but
Which I dare say is still animation.
yeah like I said I'm a fan of it all but I realize like I said with animation because I grew up kind of like on cartoons and animation and comic strips and that type of thing. I realized the power of how it can really shape your mind and really, like I said, entertain you, educate you, um, and after so many years, if it's done well, you still remember it. Like I said, I don't know too many people that don't know I'm just a bill sitting on Capitol Hill. Wait, I don't know too many people that don't remember the lyrics and the visuals that go with it. That type of thing. So that made me realize the power of what animation and this genre can really do. And it's just exploded as, like you said, content creators are coming out with more creative ideas. Technology is ever expanding, and
Yes.
just the mesh of between the two. It's
And that's
just
something I kind of want to remind, people too that, hey, the pandemic happened. And guess what? Animation helped a lot of these places stay afloat. A lot of people, keep jobs and all that. So it's such an important, I feel like it's not only can it be underrepresented at times, but it's so underserved and so like
yeah,
the quality,
yeah,
the blood sweat and tears that goes into it is just as valuable as what
yeah,
you would see in a live action and
yeah.
even more so
I
too.
think
So
they were quicker to make that pivot, because
mhm.
of, just the nature of, even before kind of the pandemic, people were working remotely and able to get to work remotely as opposed to live studios that had to shut down for a period, because
Mhm.
of just that. So like I said, it led the way in keeping entertainment going, keeping people entertained, educated, and all of that. So that's why, I love this space so much. Uh, like I said, we've had just the amazing time with Jeannette, and I can keep, we can keep her on. I can keep her on for forever, which I'm not gonna do. Like I said, I try to respect my guest time and you, the viewers' time as well. And definitely gives us the opportunity to have her back on in the new year because, like I
Yes.
said, I know there's a lot of great things coming on the horizon for her. Just as a last question, if you were, had the ability to stand in front of your younger self, not
Hmm.
that you would change anything, but what would you tell your younger? What one thing would you tell your younger self?
I have to laugh at this because I've had this kind of question where I'm like talking with my friend, I'm like, hey, if you stood in front of your younger self, like, what do you think would happen? I think my younger self was very stubborn. I mean, I can still be stubborn at times, but my younger self thought she knew it all. She was extremely stubborn to the point of like, even if somebody else was right, she's like, no.
And I'm
So
I'm laughing because I'm picturing the younger self standing in front of you, not listening to what.
exactly. I think my younger self would be like, well, you don't know a thing,
Yeah.
Um, and I would just tell my younger self, listen, listen, don't be stupid. You know, if you want to be wise, like listen to my words of wisdom. I think my younger self wouldn't have listened, but I think I would have told my younger self that's going to be okay. Like what to expect. Like, hey, it's not going to be easy. You're going to go through some things that are going to really define you, and I think that's the beauty of um, those type of lifelong learning experiences. And I feel like I'm still learning, and I love that I'm still learning. I love that because of the way I was when I was, younger, that now I'm like, wow, I would have done things so much differently, but would I be the person I am
Yeah,
today?
that's
You
always the
know?
caveat, you know.
So, and again, my younger self would probably just use some choice words towards me too right now. So let's be realistic. As I'm thinking
Oh
in my
man,
head, you are so dumb.
if he wanted to, I want to strangle you.
Yes, I'd be like, that's what I would do to my younger self. But why did you slap me? I'm like, you'll know. You'll know.
Now that's a story. That's an animation story there. We're gonna have to sit and talk some more and come up with something. Oh man, this has just been a blast of a last episode. I'm telling you, Jeannette, I couldn't have asked for a better closing guest for the year, for sure. I hope everybody has enjoyed and gotten something from this episode because I know I have as well. So I want to thank you. One, and I've said this to you before, for first connect. Well, I have to give a big shout out to Alicia. Thank you.
Alicia, all
Thank you,
roads lead back to
Alicia. Yeah,
Alicia.
all roads lead back to Alicia. Thank you for connecting us, Alicia. But thank you, Jeannette, for accepting my connection and one becoming a great friend. Like I said, I'm just
Yeah.
so impressed with what you're doing, what you're the skills that you have, how you're really trying to promote diversity, especially with Latinas uh, in the industry, and it's such as so inspiring for me as well. Um, and we were talking about this, before the show. I definitely want to get with you and talk with you more about having a kind of an expanded panel next year,
Hmm.
which for the viewers, I'm looking at doing a bigger kind of panel episode with maybe 6, 7 people, maybe more if I can get
It'd be
more.
fun. Yeah, the
And
more the
just
merrier.
having a just discussion and about the industry and what's going on. So that's something else that I'm going to be looking to get into the works. And
I did
especially,
want to say,
yeah, go
I
ahead.
did just to add to your point, right? Because about Latinos and like the organization, anyone can join. It's free. It's free. We're there for everyone. Okay, so
Yeah,
it's like, it's not. It's not. What's the word? All
exclusive. It's not exclusive.
exclusive.
It's
It's
yeah,
not exclusive. Yeah, it's about everyone connecting.
yeah,
So
yeah. And
join.
again, uh, all this information. While I'm talking about it, let me do this. Uh, woo, that's not the right one. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Make sure that you connect with Jeannette. Here is the website for Latinx in Animation. Again, all this information is going to be on the show notes for sure, but she's also on Twitter. Connect with her, Instagram. Ooh, that's not right. uh, Let me get that right there. That's. I want to make sure that's right. Uh, 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 uh,
I've been
uh.
so bad about Twitter. I will
Yeah.
admit.
Uh, 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 yeah. It's saying it's locked, but it's not. Uh,
I think it's
well, yeah.
at
It's
J Lara Mendez. I think so. I'm not. I don't remember. I gotta look it up.
uh, well. I'm. All this is going to be, like I said, the correct version. This, hey, it's live. What kind? But connect with her on LinkedIn, Jeannette Lara, her Facebook, j.lara.90. But all this will be, all her information and the organization information will be on the show notes for sure. So make sure that you connect with her. Definitely somebody that you want to get connected with for sure. Like I said, I'm super excited what your 2022 holds.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Definitely looking forward to having you back on and sharing it. Definitely looking forward to when we're able to collaborate and work together for sure. And just like I said, can't thank you enough for being a part of the Color of Motion family and being on the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Like it's been an honor, really. Like from the bottom of my heart. Like thanks for asking me to be on. Like get to be the last guest too.
Last guest, bringing out, yeah, like I said, closing out the year. Best holiday gift I could ask for. So I can't
Like,
appreciate. I
oh
can't say it
man.
enough. If you could hang out in the green room for a few
Yeah.
minutes while I close out the show, that way I can get talk to you closing it again before I let you go completely. I would appreciate it. Everybody, please help me thank my guest again, Jeannette Lara, for being on the show.
Hola, mi gente.
All right. Guys, gals, man, like I said, this has been a blast of a last episode for the year. I can't, I can't say it enough to Jeannette for, like I said, closing out this season with a bang. I can't thank you, the viewers, enough for always showing up and showing out and being a part of the Color of Motion family for sure. Uh, Again, like I said, this is the last episode. Please make sure that you do get connected again into the Facebook group community. I definitely want you to be a part of it for sure. Again, facebook.com/groups/ the color of motion. Jump on over there, get connected, be a part of the community. Like I said, We do live stream to LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. We get a lot of viewers from LinkedIn and from the Facebook group community. But I do always kind of highly encourage people to jump on over to the YouTube channel, subscribe, hit the bell notification, comment on the episode, give a thumbs up, check out some of the other past great episodes on there. Definitely be a part of that for sure. And all the other great content that is going to be coming up for sure. Definitely want you to not miss out as well. Like I said, this is our last episode. I hope everybody enjoys the holiday and the new year. Make sure that you join us. I want to jump back here. Make sure, I need some ambiance music. Make sure that you, like I said, join us next year. Our next episode is going to be January 8th with my next guest and friend, Mr. Ray Santos, senior animation artist with Sony Picture Image Works. And it's going to be a great show, great episode, so I definitely don't want you to miss that as well. Again, thank you to everybody that's made this kind of first year, a little over a year, but this 2021, the best year so far. I'm excited about what 2022 is going to bring, and definitely, like I said, want you to be a part of it. With that, like I said, I'm going to close it out. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining us and being a part of the show. Definitely make sure, I can't say join me next week, same bat time, same bat chair. I can't say that. Join me January 8th of 2022, same bat time, same bat channel for sure, and be a part of the show. So everybody have a great holiday and a great new year, and I will see you in the new year. Cheers.